get high on a bottle of rye. The coyote gets drunk on the moon. I forgot to turn my pumpkins on. Okay, I know I literally just said that I'm not turning this into a news channel, and that's still true. I have a review coming up for When Evil Lurks. That's coming on Friday. It's very in line with the videos I usually make, and I've got all my festive horror reviews in the pipeline for December, but of course, right after I make a video talking about one isolated situation that I found interesting, Empire Magazine up and dropped the first ever look at my most anticipated movie from my favorite director. So I guess, let me clarify. I will not be regularly covering news on this channel, but sometimes things are going to come up that I'm going to want to talk about. It just so happened that two of those things came up within like a week of each other. Just before I get into it, I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you enjoy this video and you want to see more of this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. December is going to be a really fun month. Alright, so I haven't gotten around to reviewing any of Robert Eggers' movies yet because I was aware that Nosferatu was coming at some point in the future, and I figured I would save those videos for the lead up to that movie, but to sum it up, Robert Eggers is my favorite director working right now. He has landed every punch he's thrown in his career. I remember being floored the first time I saw The Witch. Same thing happened for The Lighthouse, same thing happened for The Northman. The dude's a stylistic wizard who just knows how to make a damn good movie, and he's one of the most creative and unique voices working in the industry today. On top of that, gothic horror is an aesthetic that I've always been very drawn to. I find it to be an incredibly engaging and atmospheric setting that doesn't get done well very often. On top of that, I absolutely adore 19th century romantic style artwork, and on top of that, I love vampires. So let's hear the things that have been said about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Alright, so obviously, it's a vampire movie. We all knew that already. Don't be so stupid. What is the matter with you? Moving on from that insanely dumb thing you just said, Eggers said in an interview with Empire that, and I quote, "Yeah, it's a scary film. It's a horror movie. It's a gothic horror movie, and I do think that there hasn't been an old school gothic horror movie that's actually been scary in a while. And I think the majority of audiences will find this one to be the case." Damn. Okay, now what about the visual style? Ah, yes. Okay. Eggers is known for his heavy stylized filmmaking, and since this is a remake of a classic black and white movie, maybe he'll do monochrome like he did for The Lighthouse. Oh no, wait, here's something from the cinematographer. Jaron Blonsky, I think is how you pronounce his name? It's probably not. He revealed that the film was shot in color and was reminiscent of 19th century romanticism.
Holy sweet hell!
Okay, so it's starting to sound like this movie might be tailor-made for my taste in horror. If you've watched my videos for a while, you might have noticed that style and atmosphere goes a very long way for me, and from how this is being described, it sounds like this couldn't be any closer to my ideal style. Yeah, so that's all amazing. I feel like every time I hear something about this movie, it just seems more and more like it's basically gonna be the best movie I've ever seen, and I'm sure that line of thinking could lead to absolutely no disappointment as I build wildly unrealistic expectations. Anyway, so aside from that stuff, what do we actually know about the movie? It's been a long time coming, so let's talk a bit about how it came to be and where we're at now. Nosferatu is a passion project for Eggers, and it was actually something he'd wanted to do before he even made The Witch, but felt that it would be too ambitious to tackle his passion project with such an iconic name as his first feature film, which I completely understand. I think it's good that he's had the time and experience to hone in on how he likes approaching directing and achieving his style. After the success of The Witch, he wanted to start working on Nosferatu, but the project ran into production issue after production issue that I won't get into in this video because it's not really the point. Down the line, once the movie's been out for a while, I'll do a deep dive video on it and get into all the little details, but for now, you just need to know that there was a time where Eggers wasn't even confident the movie would ever get made because of how many roadblocks they encountered with it. Casting was a huge struggle, but it all eventually settled in, and filming took place in Prague around the end of February earlier this year and wrapped on May 19th, which I can only imagine was such a huge relief to actually have this thing shot after trying since 2015. Aside from the movie's constant casting and production woes, we really don't know much about this thing, and as someone who's been eagerly anticipating it for 8 years now, that has been driving me to the brink of insanity. It does seem like the floodgates have opened up on it with this interview from Empire, because we finally got to see the first ever frame from this elusive project. And you might think I've absolutely lost my marbles when I tell you how much I got out of this single frame. This image is beautiful, and I would like to take a minute to really nerd out about it. You're either going to be as insane as I am about this one shot, or it's going to bore you to death, so skip to the next chapter if you want actual details from the interview. So it's quite a striking image right off the bat for a number of reasons. I really wish the Empire logo wasn't plastered over it, but we're working with what we've got here. First off, this should come as no surprise. The movie is very clearly shot on film. The Witch was shot digitally purely out of budgetary necessity, but since then, Eggers has shot everything on film and will probably do so for the rest of his career, and I'd have it no other way. He did a fantastic job at working with digital cinematography on The Witch, but film just fits his movies so much better. The composition of this shot is amazing, and it perfectly evokes that idea that this is made to look like a painting. The way the curtains curve off with Ellen centered in them is a really satisfying composition that absolutely looks like something that you'd find in a painting from the era of inspiration. Then you've got this pale gray-blue light being cast by the moon that you can see reflected in her eyes, and of course the shadow of Count Orlok's clawed and slender hand cast on her face. I can tell already the lighting and composition in this movie is going to be stellar. You've got these hard shadows on the curtains, the utter blackness behind Ellen, the pale light softly laying itself over her, and the full moon reflected in her eyes. It is perfect. Eggers is so insanely meticulous when it comes to the visuals in his movies, and yeah, it comes as no surprise to see that same attention to detail present in Nosferatu. I just turned into a Robert Eggers character, apparently. I've been up since 5:45 this morning. I worked 9 hours today, and it's currently 10 o'clock. All right, give me a break. Right, so now that I've fully indulged in my obsession with literally one frame of a movie that hasn't even gotten a teaser trailer or a poster yet, let's talk about what else we learned from this new interview. As I said, oh my god, this is actually bad. I'm morphing. You're fond of me lobster, ain't ye? As I said, it looks like there is absolutely a focus on making this a scary movie and not just a gothic story. I love both, but hearing that there is a focus on making this genuinely frightening is really exciting. I've thought the exact thing that Eggers brings up here about a serious lack in this sort of gothic horror, which, yes, is because it's not something that general audiences are going to have any interest in, which is one of the reasons I'm so thankful for Eggers as a filmmaker. He's not afraid of making insanely unique movies that won't appeal to everyone. A little while ago, we did get some casting confirmations, but nothing that said who was actually in what role. No surprises here though, as expected. Bill Skarsgård is in the role of Count Orlok, and Lily Rose Depp is Ellen, and both actors have received wild praise from Eggers. He described Depp's performance as phenomenal and said that he's worried Skarsgård won't get the love he deserves for the performance because he disappears into the role so much that he basically isn't there. Eggers described it as a folk vampire designed to look like a dead Transylvanian nobleman, which just sounds so damn cool. Nicholas Hoult is in the role of Thomas, Ellen's wife. I love scripting videos when I'm tired. Nicholas Hoult is playing Thomas, Ellen's husband, who's an estate agent. The story centers around Ellen as she's stalked by the obsessive Count Orlok, and apparently this movie is going to focus a lot more on Ellen as a character than past versions. Literally every single thing that I've heard about this movie makes it sound like it's gonna be one of the best movies in a long time. I haven't heard or seen anything that's raised even a timid red flag. The Witch is definitely a horror movie, and The Lighthouse and The Northman certainly have their moments, but they were less concerned with scaring the viewer than they were with telling a darkly stylized story, and if you were hoping that Nosferatu would be a return to full-on horror, it sounds like Eggers is delivering just that, and I absolutely cannot wait to see this thing. There's no concrete release date, but it's slated to come out next year, and it doesn't sound like there have been any delays since production wrapped, thankfully. I'm optimistically assuming it'll be here in late spring or early summer, but that's based on nothing more than a guess, and if it's later than that, it's fine, because I'm gonna let him cook. I trust Eggers fully. He has not let me down yet, and from what I can tell, he's not about to. This was something that I just needed to make a video about because of how excited I've been for this movie for so long. I can remember watching a panel on the Blu-ray for The Witch and hearing him talk about wanting to make this movie such a long time ago, and to actually see an image from it is just amazing. I guess that's really all there is to say for now. I've got When Evil Lurks lined up for review on Friday, which was a last-minute switch I made because I was late to that movie and realized that I needed to talk about it. Then we're on to the festive season, which I'm really looking forward to, but until then, thank you for stopping by Rocklin Graves. I hope you've enjoyed your stay.